Hey there, Dale the Librarian here. I want to introduce to you some resources that are going to help you with your environmental justice assignment for the tail end of the semester. When you're doing library research, there's a lot of different ways of approaching it, and what you should think about as the assignment that I'm about to show you is that this is a recipe for successfully navigating a larger assignment. The main objectives of this assignment are to introduce to you resources that you could use. It's not the resources that you have to use per se. And it's also designed to help you with synthesis. Synthesis is where you draw um, and compare and find commonalities between several different sources and you tell a story, kind of like a literature review. What you're going to do for me is you're going to make an assignment single page, so something like a PowerPoint slide, and it's going to have three elements in it. You're going to have an item from journalism, which is what we're going to be focusing on today, some scholarship from the social sciences, and scholarship from the environmental sciences. For each of these, you're going to find one single source. For environmental and social sciences, it has to be a scholarly source. It doesn't necessarily have to be peer-reviewed, but scholarly, and I'll walk through what that means and what that looks like. But for today, we're going to be looking just at journalism. For this part of the mini literature review assignment, library assignment, you're going to be finding something in the library databases related to journalism. Journalism is this wonderful thing where they boil things down and they show multiple sides to the issue in an impartial way, so you, the reader, get to decide. I mean, that's in an ideal world. There's all sorts of biases that can come in, and sometimes the technical terms get lost because a lot of things that are created for newspapers and news outlets are written to like the middle school level, so they don't exclude your lack of knowledge on a particular topic. So it is a little bit boiled down. But this is a great place to start because it can give you a lot of different topics that you're looking at. And in fact, we did one of those in the last video where we went into the US news stream. That would be totally allowable for the journalism part of this assignment. But you're going to be looking for what you think a stakeholder in the source was saying. So if they're quoting a corporate official saying, well, the oil spill's not that bad, then what you would say is, and I'll show you examples of this as we go, but you'd say they are playing down the impact of the environmental disaster that they caused. You can use your own interpretation. This is your voice. And then you find a quote from the source validating what you said. A quote would be from the person being interviewed. And then a perfect APA citation is going to be a highlight of your life in this assignment. So let's go into some token journalism resources at the Marriott Library. Again, remember, if you're off campus, to log in here first because these resources are not available off campus unless you prove you belong to us. The first thing that I want to show you, under research databases, obviously you could go into the library catalog. I always encourage people to go into that. Under research databases, under the letter A, we have a particular database called Academic Search Premier. This is one where you can go in and find everything under the sun. It's multidisciplinary, and it has multiple reading levels, ranging from recipes all the way up to like journals on brain surgery. So a nice healthy mix. When you're looking at journalism, there's something called long-form journalism. Long-form journalism has the facts, but it also gives you a lot of context and background, and it's really a lot more in depth, and this is a great place to start. If you can find something in long-form journalism on your topic, that's great. If you don't worry about it. You can use other sources. How you get to long-form journalism in this database is as follows. Go to number of pages in the search interface and say greater than 2. You could do greater than 3 if you wanted to as well. And then you can do a search. So if I was doing Fukushima, you can see they'll show up all sorts of different things. But if I was looking for Fukushima and I'm looking for more than 2 pages, I'm going to get a lot of academic articles, aren't I? How you get around that is down on this side, click on magazines. It's a bit of a slog getting through this, so I apologize. And then you'll get into some of these long-form journalism examples. So the ghosts of Fukushima. So there's a social and community interest with these. If you run into too many technical journals, you can also go into this facet right here that says publication and click on show more, and then you can say, okay, I don't want a bulletin of the atomic scientists, but I would like Maclean's, Time, Economist, Beijing Review. What else do we have? New American, People Magazine? Ugh, I don't know. Popular Science, American Interest, Art in America. These are the number of times that a particular publication shows up. And then all of a sudden we get all this cool stuff. So there's like art, an artistic reaction to Fukushima, Fukushima fear and fallout, so you can talk about the social impact of it. I remember when Fukushima happened, there was a lot of concern in California. Maybe it talks about that. This is the long form journalism. What you're going to do is look for the ones that say PDF full text. If one of them says blow-ups happen, well, there's an optimistic view. There's a silver lining. If you can't get full text, if you click on this Find It or View It button, it will look for it in another database. We have a lot of overlap in databases, and you can see, okay, that shows up in one of these. So don't be discouraged if you can't find full text, or just send me an email, and I'm happy to help you out. That is long-form journalism and how to get into it. Let's go back to the library homepage. Another thing that I want to show you, especially if you want to look at newspapers throughout the world, is in research databases, you can go browse database by type. And one of them, it should be journalism, shouldn't it? Because newspapers are not, they don't hold the market on journalism, do they? There's magazines and websites and things like that. But be that as it may, if you click on newspapers, there's a lot of newspapers databases in here. I would recommend, if you're looking at something historic, that we have some historic ones. So we have a complete run of the New York Times, for example, complete run of the LA Times, and there's some other ones in here. But I want to show you something interesting for today, and you're welcome to use US Newsstream as well. That's my favorite one. Access World News is world newspapers, and I was thinking there was an oil spill in the Amazon River Basin, and it was pointed at a major oil company. And so I went to the Brazilian newspapers. You can go on World here, and then you'll see a map. I'll show you. This database is a little pokey. But you can go to a particular country by a map. And so I could say, oh, I want to go to Brazil. You could click on that, and you would see a list of some of the Brazilian newspapers, not all of them. The problem that I ran into, though, is that some regions of the world have newspapers that are controlled by the state. And so if there's like a business interest or an oil spill, or there's something that they want to suppress, then they're going to do it. So I would encourage you, don't necessarily get frustrated if you go to a particular country and they're not talking about the disasters that happen in their country, because maybe they don't want people to know about it. So I'm going to look in all of those. So I'm going to do Brazil, and I think the name of the place where the oil spill was Campos. And you remember our Boolean operators. I'm narrowing it down. So all the articles with Brazil, inside that subset, all the articles that have Campos, and inside of that subset, everything with oil. That should get us close. There's all the newspapers in the world. And I don't know what percentage it is. I wager that it's a healthy set of newspapers in the world, but it's certainly not comprehensive. There's a lot that don't show up indexed here. So what you can do with this is you could go into the articles and you could look for those quotes. And again, we're going back to this assignment right here. You want to find a stakeholder who's interviewed or even transcribed, whether it is a community member experiencing that problem, corporate representative, government official, innocent bystander. You get to pick and figure out what it is they're trying to say. What's the basis of their rhetoric? What's the main message? What's the takeaway? But you can go to world region and you can look at newspapers like that. So we can see, I need to narrow this down a little bit. Lastly, I wanted to show you the library catalog. This has newspapers in it as well. We do Brazil and Chevron. law, and you're going to get a mix of things here. We're not necessarily going to go into books, but this is where you could see Encyclopedia of White Collar and Corporate Crime. But you could see all sorts of different things in this resource type. So if you wanted to just narrow down to newspaper articles, or if you just wanted to narrow down to books, I think we'll cover books a little bit here and there. But for this part of the assignment, I don't think we're going to be working on that. So you can get newspaper articles in here. Wall Street Journal, New York Times, those show up in the US news stream. So if you really like this interface, there's a lot of overlap with other resources as well, so don't feel like you're doing it wrong if you find it in this one versus the other one. Okay, so that's how you would do the assignment for journalism. And if you have any questions, remember to email me. I'm at dale.larson@utah.edu.